Well, it's Wednesday, the 10th day of January 2018. My name is Wahiga Mwaura, and I certainly hope that power has been restored to your home or office or wherever you're watching this broadcast from across this country after that widespread blackout last night. We'll be talking a bit about that in the course of today's show. But first things first, welcome to Citizen Extra. Now, coming up in this program, we will be discussing President Uhuru Kenyatta's directive that all National Transport and Safety Authority officers be withdrawn from Kenyan roads and traffic police officers should take over duties on the highways. Now, he made this announcement yesterday in Meru during the burial of 3 African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa bishops who died in a grisly crash at Wamumu along the Embu-Nairobi Highway on the 29th of December 2017. And this brings us to our question of the day, which is, will withdrawing NTSA from the roads lead to a reduction in the road carnage statistics that shocked Kenyans in late 2017, or must more be done? Talk to us. 22422 is our SMS line, and our social media platforms as well at Citizen TV Kenya. Now, elsewhere, according to the first Ipsos poll of 2018 released 2 days ago, the high cost of living is top on the list of worries that Kenyans are grappling with at 29%. Hunger came in second position at 25%, followed by the lack of jobs at 18%. Can Kenyans expect any good news or at least a bit more money in their pockets in 2018? That's one of the topics we will be talking about later on in this program. Now, in addition, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board has now restricted the sale of all medicines containing an opiate substance known as codeine. Effective today, all pharmaceutical shops have been directed to stop the sale of the medicine over the counter without a prescription. Why did they make this decision? Find out from their representative a bit later on in this program. And finally, in 2017, a report titled Emerging Crimes, the Case of Kidnappings in Kenya, was released showing that 78% of kidnapping victims are minors. A representative from the National Crimes Research Center will join us at the tail end of this program to help us understand the report and what Kenyans need to do to reduce kidnapping incidents. As always, we value your feedback on this program, so do talk to us. But let us now cross over to our correspondents across the country to get the thoughts of Kenyans on the directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday that NTSA should withdraw their officers from the roads and traffic police now handle that task in totality. Let's now have a chit-chat with John Wanyama in Uasin Gishu County. Wanyama, what can you tell us? What are the reactions of Uasin Gishu residents?
Very good morning back to you, Maura, there in the studio. And in Uasin Gishu County, most people, especially residents of this county, are more impressed, are happy with the decision that was taken yesterday by the president to withdraw all NTSA NTSA officers from our roads. And where I'm standing, Maura, I'm at Uasin Gishu County Assembly, and just behind me this morning when we were just coming here, we realized that traffic police officers were already moving in full swing to arrest those private cars that are ferrying passengers from Eldoret to Nairobi, especially at night, and they are charging at 2,500. And as we speak now, they have now arrested over 7 vehicles here. Now they have taken them to the police station just behind us here. And with me, Maura, I'm talking to Uasin Gishu County Assembly MCS to tell us what are their feelings about this issue of NTSA officers. Mheshimiwa, if we can come closer to me here. First of all, if we can talk about the police arresting these private cars that are now ferrying people from Eldoret, just in brief.
The reason why they are arresting them, they should not be arrested, because the problem that is there, people have to travel. The buses are not being allowed to travel at night, so people end up in these private means. So we need to come up with a mechanism. What had been banned for the buses to travel at night, they need to be allowed to travel even at night. And we also need to thank the president for the NTSA, for them to be at the offices. Once this body came in, more accidents began. And for it to have begun, before that, the traffic police was doing well. Now they need better enforcement and for them to be more trained to do a better job. NTSA was a body for these officers to make money. There was nothing else. And that's why the increase even of the accidents we saw in the last few years. So now that they have been put at the offices, we are requesting the traffic police to do the same job they were doing before, but do it in a better manner. But also allow the buses even for them to operate at night.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. If I can talk to our County Assembly Majority Leader. What is your thought about NTSA department?
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the President for suspending the activities of NTSA in our roads. It is so unfortunate that we've lost many lives, especially during this December. And we thought that NTSA are bringing some sanity to it, but they brought more deaths of the people. What I want to say is that the traffic department went on go-slow. That is what I want to confirm. That is why you are seeing what they are doing today. They were on go-slow because NTSA came in to dine in the same plate they were using. And you know, when somebody fights, comes and tries to take away what you used to get, then there is that go-slow. So we want to tell the traffic police, now you're remaining on the roads alone, kindly do your work. Make sure that lives are not lost again.
Thank you very much for speaking to Citizen Extra. Wahiga Maura, something of interest also is that when we try to check in corridors of justice yesterday, is that most of people who are arrested, especially with maybe crimes of speeding or whatever, in our courts, something surprising is that most of those cases, the NTSA never won some of those cases especially. And you can understand when most of people were arrested on our roads with allegation that they were over speeding. But when you go to court, you find out that they never even won a single case because they didn't have even evidence. And when someone is speeding, they don't have even a printout to show whether that particular person was speeding. So Wahiga Maura, people in Eldoret, especially Uasin Gishu County, they are so happy with this decision, and they are only praying and hoping that traffic police, they will be taking this mandate fully and ensure that road carnage will come to an end.
Okay, John Wanyama.
Maura, if you can see just behind me, you see behind me a box. A car was just about to hit police officers, and as they continue with this, they were trying to arrest, but now he almost hit the police officers who are trying to arrest. These are some of the incidents. Maybe police are moving in full swing to ensure that such a madness on our road will come to an end. Maura.
Thank you so much, John Onyama, for that update. And we have a representative from the police joining us in studio, and he will be giving us his thoughts, of course, and also on what we've just seen there. Those are some worrying pictures. From there, we immediately cross over to Mombasa County, where Asha Kidusa is on standby. Just to also let us know the views of Mombasa residents, the decision by the president yesterday to ask NTSA to get off the roads, but also can traffic police now handle this task, considering they will be the ones that handle it in totality. Asha, good morning. What can you tell us?
Very good morning to you, Wahiga. Right now I'm at Kengeleni in Kongoia here in Mombasa County, and I'll be speaking to some of the drivers here about yesterday's President's directive. And this is considered, Wahiga, there has been witnessed numerous accidents around the country. And right now I'm joined by the chairman of the drivers of this place. Naam, tueleze majina yako na hisia zako kuhusiana na hatua ya NTSA urais kuwaambia NTSA waondoke barabarani. Angalia kamera.
Kwa majina naitwa Morris Dombo Jando. Kwa hatua aliyochukua rais wetu wa Kenya kwamba NTSA waondoke, haijakuwa suluhu. Suluhu kabisa ambalo linaweza kutetea ajali za Kenya ni kwamba lazima wenye kuendesha matrela waandikwe wawili ama watatu. Si kutoka Busia mpaka Mombasa, akija akifika hapa anapakiliwa tena mzigo anarudi kule, na akisimamishwa pale na NTSA inatakikana apelekwe ndani. Inatakikana akisimamishwa aende ashtakiwe siku ya 3 yake, si siku hiyo kama ilivyokuwa zamani mwaka wa 87. Ilikuwa ukisimamishwa na polisi unaandikiwa karatasi uende kotini baada ya siku 3. Hivi sasa unapelekwa siku, kwa hiyo na hiyo ndio watu huwa wanakimbia, na lile dude ni kubwa. Akianza kukimbiza lile dude, magari mengine lazima atakoze accident. Kwa hivyo tatizo hapo ni NTSA si makosa. Makosa ni kwamba madereva hawaajiriwi watu wa kupasa, wanatakikana 3 kwenye trailer. Aende apumzike Nairobi, achukue mwingine aende apumzike Kitale, achukue mwingine apumzikie Busia.
Kwa hivyo kwa maoni yako unaona kwamba hiyo si suluhu?
Hiyo si suluhu.
Naam, asante sana. We are joined by another driver. Na mtueleze majina yako, na unadhani je NTSA ukiondolewa barabarani, je trafiki wataweza kufanya hii kazi?
hapo haja kwa majina kamili naitwa Kipara kama jina la mtani vile nimezoeleka. Hapo kusemolo kweli rais hajafanya jambo ambalo amefanya jambo zuri, kwa sababu wakati hasa NTSA atakuwa ashatoka, traffic atakuwa ashapata ile au traffic Kenyatta atakuwa anafanya ile kazi.
Na kwa nini saa nyingine madereva huwa mkiamrishwa msimame ama magari yenu ni mabovu na bado mnayaweka barabarani?
Njaa, unajua njaa ni kitu moja ambayo hiyo ni suluhisho ambayo Kenya inatakana waangaliwe. Kama sasa kama mimi sijaajiriwa karibu kama miaka kama 30. Ukumbuke kuna watoto wanasoma, kuna family inaniangalia. Sasa nikipigwa mkono kiangalia ile faini ya 40,000 ama 1,100 na unajua hapo tayari uenda ndani wewe, maana yake ni kwenda kulima. Je, wale watoto wataangaliwa na nani?
Naam, asante sana. Asante sana. Wahiga, you've heard there are mixed views from some of these drivers. Some of them actually are supporting NTSA to be removed out of the road, but there are some who are saying that is not maybe the solution to reduce the number of accidents which have been witnessed recently. And now back to you, Wahiga, in studio.
Thank you so much, Asha Bekidusa, for some of those very interesting comments there from residents of Mombasa County, and I'm sure my guests will be reacting to them shortly. Now, before we get into the discussion, let's give you some background on the topic for today. Now, the National Transport and Safety Authority, that's NTSA's traffic enforcement officers, have been kicked off the roads. This is after President Uhuru Kenyatta directed that the duty of enforcing traffic rules should revert to the Traffic Department of the National Police Service. And as Hassan Mugambi now reports, the directive comes in the wake of public uproar over the role of NTSA in curbing road carnage as the number of road accidents continues to soar.
The alarming number of road accidents in the country, which had triggered a public outcry, something was bound to give the whip that has landed on NTSA traffic enforcement officers.
Ya kwamba maofisa wote wa NTSA ambao wamekuwa mabarabarani, hawa wote sasa warudi kazi ya traffic iwachiwe polisi.
Concern had been raised about the role of NTSA in enforcing order on Kenyan roads in the wake of rising number of accidents. As at yesterday, according to NTSA, 20 people had been killed as a result of road accidents since the 1st of January. Over 350 people were killed on roads across the country in December alone last year, with NTSA coming under sharp criticism.
Have started behaving like traffic police, which I'm sure was not the government intention of the agency.
We therefore pray.
We cannot afford to continue barring such distinguished people, because some people are careless and they seem to get away.
But we know this must be accompanied by some actions somewhere. The madness must stop on the roads.
It is in Maili Tatu area of Meru County during the funeral service of Philip Kubai, Moses Ndoirori and Stanley Karuru, all bishops of the African Independent Pentecostal Church, who died in a road accident on the 29th of December last year, that President Uhuru Kenyatta emphasized his call on drivers to be careful.
Jukumu ya road safety ni ya kila mmoja wetu. Tukijua ya kwamba in excess of 80% of the accidents that are occurring on our roads are being caused by careless driving.
Now out of the road, the authority retracts to execute its core mandate, which according to the NTSA Act 2012 includes to advise and make recommendations on matters relating to road transport safety, to implement policies relating to road transport and safety, to plan, manage and regulate the transport sector, and ensure provision of safe, reliable and effective road transport service. NTSA will also continue issuing logbooks, registering motor vehicles, issuing driving licenses, as well as inspection of motor vehicles. Meaning that implementation of policies such as the breathalyzer test that the authority is famously known for could have been fully handed to the Traffic Police Department. Hassan Mugambi, Citizen TV.
Let me immediately introduce my guest in studio to discuss this big topic of the day. Let me start from the far right there. We are joined by Peterson Karuga, Head of Policy Implementation from the Motorcycle Road Safety Training Institute. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Right next to him is Charles Owino, Assistant Inspector General. Welcome to the program as well.
Thank you.
And here right next to me is Mr. David Kiarie, the Chairman, Road Safety Association of Kenya. Welcome to the program as well.
Thank you.
Peterson, let me immediately get a reaction from you. President Uhuru Kenyatta gives 2 directives in one yesterday. NTSA, get off our roads. Traffic police, the ball is in your court. Handle this road carnage. And this all happening, even as reports reaching our newsroom even from last night, is that 8 people lost their lives last evening in a tragic road accident along the Nyeri-Nyahururu road. Not the kind of news that you want to hear again, but unfortunately that's what's happening. Let me start with you, your reaction, Peterson.
Yeah, one thing I believe in is that the NTSA being removed out of the road is not the solution to the problems that we're having right now. Because, one, I believe that drivers are the key role in everything that is happening on the road. Because the driver is the one who is in charge of the vehicle. The NTSA person is on the road just to trying to inspect whatever is happening on the road. So whatever is happening on the road is entirely on the driver. So the NTSA being removed of the road is not entirely the solution. We have to go back now and try to look at the drivers that we have. The drivers that are being on the road. One, are they competent? Number 2, their working conditions. Because I say again and again that if the driver does not have a good working condition, it might be difficult for him to perform even when he's on the road.
Would you have advice for restructuring of NTSA rather than removing them completely from the roads, or what are you trying to say?
That's what I would advocate for.
That's what you advocate for.
Yeah.
Let me bring the Assistant IG into this. And for you, I also want to point to you, even as I know you want to comment on everything that's happened. I don't know if you've read today's editorial in the Daily Nation. It reads as follows: handing road safety back to police futile. And this is how they give their case. The police are notorious for extortion and abetting mayhem on the road. Speeding, faulty and unroadworthy vehicles routinely go through police roadblocks without being stopped because they pay protection fees. Several police officers run fleets of public service vehicles that are never checked and contribute to the heavy death toll. Returning the road safety role to the traffic police amounts to institutionalizing disorder. Do you agree with the thoughts of the editorial in the Daily Nation today?
Thank you so much. You know, the greatest problem with Kenyans is apportioning blames to each and every person. From where I sit, I'm a policeman. My role, my constitutional role as a policeman is to enforce laws and regulations. There is a role of NTSA and there is a role for the police. And these roles must be complemented for us to be able to achieve our objective as a nation. I've always reminded people that you are not born a reporter, neither was I born a policeman. But these are roles that we have as a community. We have to sit down and agree. Somebody will teach nursery school, and somebody will teach secondary school, somebody will teach primary school, somebody will be a chairman. All these roles are important. What I would say is that the police has a role to enforce all laws and regulations, whether they are deemed corrupt or not. That is their duty. You cannot take it away. What happens is that you can only ask yourself, if they are corrupt, why are they corrupt? And how do you manage that corruption? Now, NTSA has a very good role.
I was hoping you'd answer that question, but maybe that's the topic.
Police, we will answer it together.
Okay.
This is our family. This is our country. One of the most beautiful countries in the world. So we have nowhere to go to, and we have to fix it. What I'm saying is that NTSA has a role to play in policy making. Because
did you overstep its role?
I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
I don't want to appear to be celebrating the removal of NTSA from the road. What I'm saying is I'm an officer of the law, and I go strictly by the law.
Okay.
The law, what the president did was procedural, because in law, the NTSA are not supposed to enforce the laws and regulations. Just a minute, give me time.
Okay.
The NTSA is supposed to make policies. And I would want to gear you up to what I mean by that and how it is supposed to happen. Because today you must ask yourself, what is ailing us? A very good example is when you are arrested today in Nyayo Stadium roundabout, coming to work. we are supposed to give you a ticket, a notice to attend court, and then you are supposed to go to court, so that we don't inconvenience you. But usually what would happen is, many a times, we will arrest you, take you to Nairobi area, prepare our charge sheet, hold you, and then take you to Kibera or Milimani Law Courts. The magistrate may also start at 11. The question that you should be asking, why are we not giving you a ticket?
And allowing me to report.
And allowing you to
carry on with my business.
Carry on with your business.
That's right.
Are you getting me? Number one, the implication, the reason why we are not discussing any Kenyans, if you ask them to go to court, they'll not go to court. Most of us. Then we will come up with warrants.
Okay.
When you come up with warrants, it's very difficult to get this Kenyan to arrest him.
So you're basically
just a minute.
Okay.
Give me time so that...
I also want to give David Kiari a time.
There's time. Because what we are discussing is very important.
Okay.
Because I want you to look at this thing holistically. Now, what happens is that you must... Because when we do that, then there are chances of people getting tempted to bribe the police so that he saves time. Now, what happens is that now NTSA would be looking at some of those areas, and they have looked at it, especially on the license. As we speak today, they are changing the old license into a more digital license. And they are coming up with other policies, like instant fining. So that attempt for you, that time that you would waste to go to court when you're supposed to go somewhere is also limited. Just a minute.
I need to interrupt you.
No, don't.
The question that our viewers today who are watching, the question that our viewers today are watching asking, how is the police going to handle our roads from today moving forward? I think that's what it is.
Excuse me. This is. I must answer you professionally. Okay. I can't tell you yes or no.
Unfortunately,
I can't tell you yes or no. The problem you have is that you are also not listening. You are. No, and what you do next time?
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Next time.
Finish up.
This is a very important discussion.
Finish up.
Next time, give us enough time to discuss this issue.
Okay.
So I don't come here and say
I'm giving you enough time. You were on to for
anyway, let me finish then. Let me summarize what I'm saying. Is that there are so many reasons as to why we are having these problems, and that is why NTSA came in for purposes of policy. But when it comes to enforcement, then what happens? It is the duty of the police. Whether the way I said, whether they are corrupt or they are not corrupt. For example, now we look at the issue of breathalyzer, alcohol. Look at the issue of speed. What does the law say? The law says that a police officer in uniform. That is what the Act says. So the NTSA officer is not a police officer. So what the president is trying to do is to make people do things in the right way, so
that things are not being done in the right way.
Excuse me. Let me finish. Let me help you. If you take,
I'm also trying to help you.
If a civilian uses the speed gun to arrest you and take you to court in the name of NTSA or a breathalyzer, if you go to court, there will be legal challenges. That the law says it's supposed to be a police officer.
Okay.
So we are not saying that we don't work together. We work together. They do policy and we do enforcement. There's also another problem which is soon coming, which I need to... No, just a minute.
Finish on that note. Go ahead.
There's another problem which is soon coming about the driving schools and about the driving test examiners. The law is very clear that a driving test examiner shall be a police officer, trained and gazetted by the head of police. So if you go and then you bring civilians to be driving test examiners,
civilians under the banner of NTSA.
And let me tell you, let me tell you, what we are saying is that even if you ask me, even the driving aspect, the driving test, we have very competent drivers. It's just like what that man from Mombasa has just said. Employ 3 drivers for trucks, for purposes of
stop you on
exhaustion.
That note. David, please come in now.
Oh, thank you. And first of all, I want to thank our president because, one, we have, as the association, written so many letters to him to take this action, and we are proud. And one, I want to
take the action of withdrawing NTSA
from the road.
Okay.
Because we have to understand what is the work of NTSA. It is policy making, nothing else. But when you talk of enforcement and what has been the problem in this country, it is the enforcement on our roads. NTSA could not enforce, and that is a fact. First of all, they had only 200 officers. How could they work all over this country? We have police, and as our constitution, and as my good friend is saying here, nobody else can enforce law in this country. It is the police officer. So one, I want to tell you, for sure, NTSA, they have been coming with very good policies. But who is there to enforce these policies? You have seen of late that vehicles are carrying excess. Who is to enforce? These vehicles are doing overspeed. Who is going to enforce? Now that police, the traffic police department has been given back their work, we want to see them working.
Do you believe that NTSA was the biggest problem? Because there are those who say that the police were never removed from the roads, that they still had a role. You still see them on the roads, you know, overseeing traffic and the roads and so forth. So some are wondering, are the police going to do any better?
Let me tell you the truth, because I've been the chairman of Road Safety Association. Police could not have done anything, because you must be answerable to somebody somewhere. There is no way we can have two powers. This police who is on the road, he has again to answer to NTSA, and he is not. That is not his right.
Is that correct?
And that is how it was happening. And this is why you see there has been
that is correct.
There has been like a gap in between, because now the police are working on their own. They are not supported. Now that the president has supported the police to do their work, changes will come. And I want to tell you, the only problem we have in this country is enforcement. We have very good police.
Okay, I like some. So you said changes will changes come? Has the police now moved out fully? Briefly before I go to Peterson?
Maura, you know, we are very lucky that I think the president confirmed the cabinet secretary Matiang'i as our Minister for Interior. And I hope that the zeal he has used in education will also come to police. We are not inadequate. We are very competent and we are able. But what I can tell you is that Kenyans have so many faces that I can tell you. Majority of most of the things that we do them with impunity, knowing what we are doing. Even the bribery on the road. You just leave your house without insurance, with a car that has no tires. Like now you've seen in Eldoret what is happening. You know very well a passenger vehicle must be, for you to carry passenger, you must be a PSV vehicle. And even if it has been said that vehicles cannot travel at night, that is not an excuse for a non-PSV vehicle to be put on the road. That is impunity. Now, yes, that is impunity. And you saw they were almost even hitting a police officer. That is what we are as Kenyans. We are making ourselves a kingdom of impunity. People have no respect for anything. So you have no insurance and everything. You are in a vehicle. You've seen it yourself. Mtu anatoa 50 shillings or 100 shillings and saying, let me go and give those dogs. Tuende tupatia wale maumbwa. Na kweli when he reaches there he drops the money. Na kweli unaona mtu anaenda anachukua nini? Hiyo pesa. So what I'm saying is this is pure impunity, and I hope that we will have that space to reign on people appropriately. But we are still going to work very closely with them.
When can we expect to hear from the police in terms of their strategy? Because let me give you stats.
Yes.
200, at least 200 people killed on the roads in December alone. More than 150 died in road crashes within the first 3 weeks of the month. Those are figures from NTSA. With nearly half of them perishing on the stretch between Nakuru and Sachangwan. Can you promise Kenyans that we are not going to see these numbers?
And that is why when I was talking to you, I did not want a yes/no answer. I wanted to tell you what is ailing us, why we are having these problems. And one of it, that gentleman of Mombasa has just told you that you cannot have a truck driver. Like for example, now as a policeman, how do I ensure that a truck driver, the truck driver companies are going to employ 3 so that people are not exhausted? How are we going to ensure that here in Nairobi, every vehicle, every matatu is going to have 2 drivers, one working for 8 hours, another one working for 8 hours? You see, these are not issues that you will answer as a policeman and say, yes, tomorrow there will be no accident. Because Maura, today, when you decide to drive on the brow of a hill, you are going to kill somebody else
who was driving on his lane, will there be a policeman behind to cane him? There'll be no policeman. When you decide to overtake on a corner, will there be a policeman? So you cannot push me and tell me, will we be able to see accidents today or tomorrow? What you should be asking me is, if we are going to work closely with NTSA, road safety, Matatu Association, and Kenyans are going to support us.
Okay.
So that, excuse me, so that
yes,
when my good officer, I send a good officer in a road in Meru, Matatu drivers don't go behind him and go lie.
The public will
to
comply.
Me, no, somebody would come and lie to me and say, this officer takes a lot of bribe from us.
Okay.
The guy is saying he's taking bribes from him.
Hang on, David. I need Peterson to come in now. Go ahead. You've heard what we are discussing. I can allow you to give us your thoughts.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with everything the Deputy IG is talking about. One, I would say and say again, our roads will be safe when we have drivers who have the right attitude. Drivers who know exactly what they want. Because number one, a car cannot move unless there is a driver in that vehicle. So the driver who is in the vehicle is the one who is responsible on the road. The police officer is there to implement, or like in school. The teacher is there to give a guide, not exactly to tell you everything that you're supposed to do. Because the driver has already gone to school, has been given a driving license. So if the driver is competent from the beginning...
Okay. And I buy into your argument, but also we've seen a situation in Kenya in that a lot of Kenyans prefer to be directed. Let me give you an example. Let's talk about Nairobi. We've recently seen the installation of traffic lights at various intersections. I'm sure all of you have seen. And we've seen how now traffic is handled much better at those intersections, whether it's at Riverside, you're talking about on Gong Road, etc., because of traffic lights. Before traffic lights, the same drivers who use those roads would almost get into fights, meaning that as much as, yes, it is up to drivers to be responsible, but there's also a fact where if systems and structures are not in place to guide the thousands of drivers in this country, then you cannot say that it is only the driver. And I think that there are some who are of that school of thought. And I'll come back to, 1 minute to react because we need to go to Nyeri County.
Yes,
go ahead.
When I went for driving school, there were road signs that I was shown that once you're on the road, when you see this road sign, it means 1. When you see this road sign, it means 2. When you come into a junction, there are rules to follow. Either there is a traffic light or there is no traffic light. I can't just enter a junction just because you don't have a light that is guiding you. So number one, the driver himself, before you're being given the directives, you must have, because you already have the laws in you, you have already been given the rules. You've been given what they are calling it defensive driving, So with that skill, even without having the lights, even without having the policeman on that junction to direct you, you already know that when I'm in the junction, I give right of passage to the driver on my right. So if there is a driver on my right, I am supposed to give him right of passage. If there is not, then I can proceed. Whether there is a police officer or we don't have a police officer.
Hang on, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. Let me get a quick. I know you're burning inside. Martin Munene, good morning from Nyeri County. What are the thoughts of Nyeri residents about, of course, the state of our roads, the worrying statistics? A lot of people have lost their lives over the festive season. Even today we are receiving reports of another accident as well. And of course the directive by the president yesterday, what can you tell us are some of the reactions of Nyeri residents?
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Moura from Nyeri County. And like you've rightly put it, even as we speak, yesterday we're getting reports of an accident that happened along the Nyeri-Nyahururu road that is said to have claimed 8 lives. And so the question of what needs to be done to tame these deaths on the road still lingers. And today I am at one of the bus parks in Nyeri town that actually has matatus that go all the way to Nakuru in the Rift Valley, Nyahururu, Eldoret and elsewhere. And I'll be talking to one of the drivers here and an official of a particular particular SACCO to just help us understand and give us an insight into what they take, especially when it comes to that move by President Uhuru Kenyatta to say that the police men should actually take charge of the road. And we just want to also just speak to him and also understand again, Wahiga, what is the role of SACCOs in ensuring that safety on our road is maintained. He's going to just give us an insight into what the roads are like, especially considering the fact that he's a driver, he's been on the road for a long time. So kindly, if you can join me here, tell us, introduce yourself, who you are, and tell us what is your take concerning the move by President Uhuru Kenyatta to tell NTSA to get off the roads.
My name's Justice Greg Wagari. I'm the Deputy National Secretary General, Matatus Owners Association, and at the same time, I'm the Secretary General of Matatus Owners in Nyeri. What I would say that I would thank our His Excellency, the President of our Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, for what he did. In fact, removing the NTSA from the road. In fact, that was a sort of a cartel which was going on all around. In fact, you would find that one would be banned for some days, and when you go there, when you pay an agreeable amount of money, the TLOBs and what have you are returned. So we would say thank you, and the people of Nyeri, we are so much pleased of what he has done, and we would say that really we are seeing that he is doing his work. As that was a sort of work which has been blackmailing our SACCOs. I'm also a member of ONT SACCO, which we operate around Nyeri.
All right, another question. As a member of a SACCO and as a leader of a SACCO, what is your take on the role of SACCOs in ensuring that there is safety on the roads?
Since some of the SACCOs have compliance, in fact, I would say that the officials of various SACCOs which we have here, we have got SACCOs at 4NTs, Nyena, Shakana, we have got 2NK and what have you. We would like all the officials to take responsibilities of their SACCOs. In fact, if they manage the SACCOs according how they are supposed to be managed, the road carnages and accident will stop, since they will be checking their vehicles on a daily basis. And I think that that can be the best thing which they can do. And I hope if they will have, let's say, the so-called fleet management, where they see that where we have got the gadgets are connected to their SACCOs, where they will be operating on daily basis. In fact, load carnages and accidents will cease from the Manado sector.
Okay, and maybe finally, we have seen a ban on night travel, especially for public transport, public service vehicles. What is your take on that, and what do you think, as a player in this industry, should be done to tame what is happening on the road so that we don't see as much death as we see now?
In fact, banning the vehicles from traveling at night, in fact, that could not have been done. The things which you could have done is that, let's say, the management of our SACCOs will be able to know their vehicle, my vehicle is moving from this destination to another one, and if really they will be seeing what they have been doing, like the so-called police management, I don't think that the bunch will not be there. In fact, people are suffering, and at the same time, you will find that, like this time when children are going back to school, you find that there are congestions in the bus stages and what have you. But if this could be allowed, and at the same time, they need to check how these vehicles are going. The officials will be doing the work, and this will be very healthy.
Thank you very much. Wahiga, like you've heard, this gentleman feels that SACCOs have a big part to play, especially in ensuring that the vehicles they put on the roads are actually compliant with what the regulations that have actually been put. He says that SACCOs, if they work together with officials from the government, then they can be able to tame their own carnages. But he feels the night ban should be lifted, as he says it's creating congestion, especially during the day, and therefore some of the people who want to travel are not able to do so on time. And that is how things are in Nyeri County. Back to you in studio, Wahiga Maura.
Well, thank you so much, Martin Mene, for giving us that update, and of course bringing up the issue of SACCOs, which is something we will be touching briefly on here in studio. And before we carry on with the discussion, let me just get some thoughts from Nikki Gitonga in Kwale County. Nikki, what can you tell us about the reactions of residents of Kwale County in regard to the directive by the President yesterday?
Waiga, very good morning. We are in Kwale County at Ukunda town. Yesterday, President Uhuru Kenyatta directed all the NTSA officers to be withdrawn from our roads to pave way for the traffic officers to maintain law and order in our roads, maybe in a one way to curb the road accidents that have been happening in our country. With me here, I have an MP who is Vincent Mogaka for West Mugirango constituency, who is also a member of Transport Committee in the National Assembly. Is going to give us his take concerning the directive that was given by the President. Maybe what's your take on that directive?
Thank you very much for this. First of all, let me say that any person who sent the NTSA officers to our roads got it wrong right from the first time. According to the NTSA Act, that is Act number 33 of 2012, and more particularly Section 4 of that Act, it clearly spells out the functions of the NTSA. And among the functions of the NTSA, one is to advise the Cabinet Secretary on matters relating to road transport and safety. Two, also to implement policies concerning road transport and safety. Nowhere in that act it has been spelled out that the officers are out or their function is to enforce that act. So there is no function that the NTSA officers were supposed to be on our roads. So whoever who sent them was wrong right from the day. Secondly, the President yesterday ordered that those officers get out our roads. That is better than nothing. But I want to say the problem in the road carnage is not particularly on the NTSA. The problem on our roads is the poor infrastructure in terms of roads. Our roads, the time they were constructed, they were accommodating fewer roads. Now we have more vehicles on the roads, and therefore to have a long-term solution, the Jubilee government must come up with a very clear roadmap on how to expand our roads. Thirdly, the police officers, the traffic police officers who are being sent back to the roads, it will not be a long-term solution because these police officers are not paid well. Unless their terms of service are improved, that is when we can be able to correct the mess in our roads. That is the time when they can be able to enforce the rules and regulations.
So do you think maybe the traffic officers, can they do a much better job than the NTSA they used to do in the past when they were on our roads?
We don't expect much to be attained so far because before NTSA came, our traffic police officers were on the roads and we had still the same problem. So the long-term solution to this is to expand our roads.
As a member of Transport Committee in the National Assembly, are there any proposals that maybe you want to take to the National Assembly to ensure that road carnage does not become a menace in our country?
Yes, once we settle down, as we'll be having our committee sittings, we have given a roadmap on how we are going to address the issues, especially pertaining the road transport.
Well, that's an MP from West Mugirango constituency. That's all we have from Kwale County. Back to you in studio, Wahiga.
Thank you, Nikki, for those thoughts from Kwale County, from that member of parliament. And actually, a bit of what is raised is something that we're going to talk about here. So I think, gentlemen, and I want to come to you, David, there's consensus that NTSA went beyond their mandate. That's what I feel a lot of people are saying. And of course, we tried to get an NTSA representative to join us on this show. They declined. But I want to now get your reaction. How come it took so long for people to begin a discussion on whether NTSA should actually have been on the roads or not?
This should not even be a discussion because in the first place, they were not supposed to be on the road. Because it clearly is there. And it is not something we should think about. But one thing I want to tell you, Mr. Wahiga, is this. Now that police have been given back their work, it does not mean that we are not going to see accidents on our roads. Accidents will be there. The thing is attitude. How is our attitude? We complain of only the drivers. We have pedestrians. We have so many things to be factored in. We have these circles, as one circle member was talking there. Because the first issue of us fighting for circles to be independent and to control themselves, because a police officer will not be everywhere. Like this story of overloading your vehicle, carrying excess, going with a vehicle without good tires, That is not the work of the police. It should be the work of the SACCO. They make sure that their vehicles are in good condition. They make sure that from the point A, the driver who is, because police will not know all the drivers, but SACCOs themselves know their drivers. They know that these are drunkards who should not even have this vehicle. So if we want to assist on our road, because I think the president directive was to make sure that we curb the cunning on our roads. The deaths must come, in fact, should be zero tolerance. But for us to reach that point, we have to make sure that we support the police. You know, like now, everybody is trying to...
Give us specifics. What does supporting the police mean?
That is, first of all, as I said, our SACCOs, to make sure that we work together. We have to work with the police. Because before NTSA came, we used to work with police very well. But also, and you know, people have been saying that police are corrupt, they are taking money. But one thing I know, and I'm 100% sure, your vehicle cannot be good. You have the license, you have everything, and then a police officer asks you for any bribe. So, where this bribe comes, if you want to stop this bribe, make sure that your vehicle is in good working condition. There is no way the police officer will find your vehicle and ask you for the money. But these people want that behavior because they want to be on the wrong always. And that's why I'm telling you, our attitude, and we don't only talk of the matatu drivers, even these private vehicles. And like now, last year, the number of private vehicles involved accident was higher than the PSV vehicles because our attitude...
You have those statistics?
Yes, because our attitude is wrong. We should change our attitude.
Fair enough.
For instance, I want to tell you, when the president gave those directives, people started writing in the social media that now Akobro is gone. Who, for God's sake, is going to allow people to drink and drive? People should know that if we respect our traffic rules, just respect the rules, then we don't have...
You don't have a problem. Assistant IT, you can come in now, and you heard what that member of parliament from Nyamira had to say. Before NTSA, the police were there. We still had these accidents. What difference can Kenyans expect?
That is why I talked to you about issues of policy. And that is why the police and NTSA must still work together in terms of ensuring that a number of policies are implemented. For example, the issue of the SACCOs, which he has raised. The reason why we came up with SACCOs is so that those SACCOs would be able to manage their members, ensure that the vehicles are inspected, ensure that they are carrying the capacity that is required, ensure that they have tires, ensure that there is total compliance. And that is why now NTSA and the ministry would come up. If a SACCO is not compliant, then the SACCO would be suspended. It will be a lot of pain, and members will quarrel them, and they will not admit anybody in that SACCO. Equally, we need to, like for example, issues of driving licenses. We are now going digital in terms of driving licenses, so that that will even help us in enforcing that. Maybe if we change the act, that if you drive, if you are found having committed a traffic offense twice or thrice, then your license is taken. You can only do this when you have the digital license. That means that NTSA still has to work on the digital license, which they are working on, so that we can be able to keep records. So none of these institutions would work alone, and NTSA is very important for us, especially in policy formulation, and then we enforce the policies and close on the loopholes that is allowing people to commit offenses. And especially on PSV vehicles, the SACCO issue is very important. I hope that when we sit, we'll be able to come up with systems so that not every Tom, Dick and Harry wakes up and starts a SACCO and has 10 vehicles.
Okay.
We can come up and say, in Nairobi maximum, we can have 5 SACCOs or 6 SACCOs. And then what may happen is that we may agree when we have the few SACCOs that maybe the ministry undertakes a check or an interview to license. But you see the way customs and KRA licenses clearing agents, we can also decide that SACCOs are licensed. And then once the SACCOs have been licensed, then they are given conditions that you must, any vehicle that you are admitting must have this. And then equally, if we find that you are taking money from
PSV owners to admit them in your circle, then again we disband you,
okay,
so that we don't allow those kind of cartels. So there is a lot in terms of policy formulation, and NTSA is working on them, the government is working on them, and I can assure you within, you see this prefecting, the issue of sitting behind people with a cane so that they don't overtake in a corner on a brawl over a hill cannot work.
Okay.
And there's a lot of discipline required. But I want to assure you that the Inspector General is committed.
When can we expect to hear formally from the police about, okay, first of all, after the President's directive, have the police, have you held meetings? Can we expect to hear some sort of message to something of the sort?
Let me tell you.
Just for our understanding.
One, we have even new police bosses,
yes,
in office who just took over a day ago. And but this does not stop our working procedures. What I've told you I'll not do here is to tell you tomorrow. We have a duty from every minute to help Kenya. It is our responsibility. We have no excuse to say tomorrow. It must be now and not any other day.
Okay.
But the process of ensuring that there is full sanity, I think we have a new Michuki in Interior, and he may perform even better. We want to wish him the best of luck, and we hope every Kenyan is going to support him. I hope it will not be like education, where people are saying somebody has 50%, moderate it to become an A. 50% can never be an A.
Okay, I'll take that message.
So let's hope.
Yes,
let's hope that kind of zeal will work. And let me tell you, Maura,
as your party
we have been in this service for long enough, and that is why we exude a lot of confidence, because we know what we are doing and we know what is right for the service.
All right.
My boss never talks, but I'm sure he never talks, but I'm sure he's a very humble man, but I'm sure he acts.
And that is what Kenyans are hoping
and I'm sure he's under very clear instructions that this madness must stop.
I'll take that
so
as your last.
Maura, you must support us. Many people are going to support you.
That's why
many people are going to cry, because it will be so punitive. The actions will be too punitive, and there will be a lot of pain. And you know, there is no gain without pain. Even for me to cut this weight to come to your weight, I'll have to undergo a lot of pain. So Kenyans should be prepared for the pain on enforcement. It will be so painful, but let us bear with the pain for us.
Painful and fair.
It will be so painful.
And fair.
Yeah, just like I've told you, if I have to kite this weight and come to your weight, it will be very painful.
Let me get a last word from you, Peterson. Briefly, 1 minute, please.
Okay, maybe there's something we've forgotten, and it's very major, and we might not overlook it, the border, because that is where I stand as Peterson. The border guys also contribute a lot in terms of the roads, the accidents that are happening on the road, and if we do not look into them, because there are many, very many, and some of those drivers, the border riders on the road, some of them are not trained. Some of them goes and train somewhere and then come on the road, take the motorcycle, and they're on the road. And they will meet with competent drivers. They will meet with other drivers. You have seen them overtaking. Like I've seen today in the daily newspaper, I think page 20, a border guy carrying a parent and a kid and a box at the back going to school. You look at them, according to traffic laws, that's already a violation of the law. So we need to look at the border. I think that will come from maybe the police and also the NTSA working together.
He's here.
We need to look into them, and we have an organization. We have an institute that is dealing with the border guys, dealing with training them in terms of road safety, traffic rules, and even their own hygiene and what we call first aid, because those guys on the road are causing a lot of accidents. They themselves are causing a lot of accidents. If we do not look into them and focus more on the PSV vehicles, we are also forgetting a very, very major factor towards the border guys.
Thank you so much. That's how we wrap up this discussion. Peterson Karuga, Head of Policy Implementation, Motorcycle Road Safety Training Institute, Asante Sana. Next to him, Charles Owino, the Assistant IG. Thank you for finding time. David Kerry as well, the Chairperson, Road Safety Association of Kenya, for finding time. I can assure you, gentlemen, we'll carry on with this discussion. This one we cannot finish in one sitting. Let's now tell you a little bit about what's happening across the borders now. A cyclone that hit eastern Madagascar over the weekend killed at least 29 people and injured tens and displaced thousands, authorities said yesterday. Tropical cyclone Ava passed through Madagascar on Friday and Saturday, hitting mostly the eastern coast of the island with wind speeds of between 140 to 190 kilometers per hour and flooding parts of the capital, Antananarivo. The National Office of Risk and Disaster Management had earlier on Monday put the dead at least 6, and that more than 13,000 people were displaced by the cyclone, while more than 16,000 pupils had classes suspended until Thursday due to flooding and the risk of landslides. Now, Nigerian police fired tear gas and clashed with protesters during a demonstration by Shiite Muslims in the Nigerian town of Abuja on Monday. The protesters called for the release of their leader, Ibrahim Zakzaki, claiming he is suffering from bad health in prison and being denied treatment. Nigerian troops arrested the leader of this minority, a Shiite Muslim sect, and killed his deputy and chief spokesman in raids in 2015, and he currently remains under arrest. Africa's most populous nation of 180 million combines a predominantly Christian south and mainly Sunni Muslim north. Shiites are estimated at less than 4 million, according to a 2009 report by the US-based Pew Research Center, although there are no official figures. Now, Israel should stop plans to send tens of thousands of migrants back to Africa forcefully, the United Nations Refugee Agency said yesterday, suggesting some could be resettled in Europe or other countries. Israel said last Wednesday that it would pay thousands of African migrants living illegally in the country to leave, threatening them with jail if they are caught after the end of March. The vast majority come from Eritrea and Sudan, and many say they fled Africa and persecution as well as economic hardship. Israel treats them mostly as economic migrants. The plan offers African migrants a $3,500 payment from the Israeli government and a free air ticket to return home or go to third countries, which rights groups identified as Rwanda and Uganda. Well, thank you so much for finding time to join us in this broadcast. Let me read two quick SMSs. One person here has said that stopping night travel by passenger vehicles was rather a miscalculated decision. Most accidents are caused by heavy trucks and borders. NTSA exit was delayed. They've been collecting money from motorists and harassing them. They should keep off as we sensitize drivers and improve on road signs. And one other person says, NTSA were insulting drivers. We have got enough police officers to work on roads. This person now supports Charles Owino and what he had to say. And one last one here, Mudoga from Nyeri says, we want the traffic to enforce the law and EACC to wake up. That way, we'll be very happy with what the president has said. I'll try and read a couple of more SMSs later on. Time now for a quick break on Citizen Extra. When we return, we'll be talking about the high cost of living. Kenyans have found the going in January very tough. If it's not inflated electricity bills, if it's not the rising cost of unga, if it is not school fees, or rather the cost of boarding plus the cost of uniform, etc. Basically, it's been a tough January so far. We talk about the economic forecast for the year in Kenya with my guests up next. We'll be right back.